Dan, this may be the end of an era. I mean, we've looked at these cities, these high-cost cities. The reason they've gone up and up and up in cost is because more and more people were trying to fly in there. What are you starting to see?
I feel like I've been on here every month talking about these cities that are talent magnets.
Yeah.
And the question that has come up every time is what happens when salaries get too high, costs get too high, companies can't compete in these cities, and we're seeing what happens now. And
is it finally a tipping point?
Yeah, it is a tipping point. I mean, we see there's a correlation between when housing prices exceed 30% of people's average incomes. You cannot keep top talent in those cities. San Francisco, 51% housing cost to income. People are leaving, and that's true. They're going to lower cost cities like Phoenix, Minneapolis. These are places that you wouldn't have thought of as being talent magnets. These are the new places that are attracting people.
So this is bad for the big cities, but is this great for the country? I mean, this is sort of feeds into this sort of Steve Case
the rise
of the rest. And I mean,
Steve has been a lonely voice on this for a long time. He's been right. I mean, you were seeing people, and what's interesting is they go to these bigger cities. They absorb what they need to on how the companies that are working there in San Francisco is absorbing the tech scene and then taking it to smaller or other cities and bringing their smarts with them. And it means that for these companies that are located in these high-cost cities, they're starting to have to think about flexible workforces. How do you find engineers in other places? How do you make sure that you can have people living in some of these smaller cities and still working for you?
Is this a movement that's being led by workers that are fed up with the commutes and the craziness and the high cost, or is this being led by the companies saying we can't continue to pay people higher salaries to bring them here?
No, I think it's more led by workers
and
college graduates who are saying, you want to hire me? I can't afford to live here. I can't afford to live in San Diego. I can't afford to live in Seattle or San Francisco. I'm going home. I'm going to Nashville.
If we should think of this as a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's not necessarily a zero-sum game, right? So this may be just a better distribution.
I think it's a great thing.
People.
As someone from Louisville, Kentucky, and has always wondered why people don't move back there, the idea that you don't have to be in a big city, but in a coastal city, but can go and live somewhere else and still have all the benefits of working for a great company. That's great.
The commutes, people are taking longer and longer commutes. I mean, it's crazy. You got people who are spending 90 minutes, 2 hours longer commuting every day. And that's
but there is a acidification in a lot of these places that's happening.
There's a what?
What I call acidification.
Yeah.
Places that historically looked more like a suburb, they would describe cities that are now being much more like cities.
Well, I think when you have people, when you're 21 and you're saying, I want to live in San Francisco, but I can't, I'm going to move to Minneapolis, you still want the same things that you would get in a city. You want the great restaurants, you want all the services, you want to be able to bike places, you want the bike lanes, so these cities are having to meet the needs of workers who would rather be in cities.
It's having to. It's an opportunity.
They got to do it.
I mean, it's growth for these other places,
absolutely,
too, and offers
there are pluses and minuses. I can just think of going to a sporting event in a smaller market, and it's like there's no traffic, and you drive next to the stadium, and you park, and you walk up, and everybody's happy, and there's not. I mean, you go to the U.S. Open here, or go to an event here. I mean,
Open tennis, one of the greatest events.
It is great, but it is an event getting there and getting out, and it's just different in smaller markets, Andrew. It's like Louisville's very little.
I love
Cincinnati.
Flying into airports in small towns.
Right.
Everything is easier.
Everything is easier, but it's a trade-off.
It's
a trade-off. Your money goes far.
Not spending all your money on rent.
Right.
It's a big deal for people.
So will the employers follow suit?
Absolutely. I mean, employers have to. The biggest battle right now is to get the right talent in. You are competing in a global marketplace, and you're competing. Everyone is competing for the same type of people, and so you got to follow the people. This hiring is still strong. We just had our monthly job numbers came out, 1.1% increase in hiring month over month. There is still demand for people. It is still a workers' market.
It's still a workers' market, and that's counter to what we saw yesterday with ADP. There were people saying, okay, wait, maybe this is not good news. Maybe it means bad news for Friday's jobs employment number, and you say, no, that's not the case?
We see kind of a stratification going on where there is a growth in certain sectors, software and IT, growth in hiring. Anything goods producing, anything where the tariffs might be hitting is seeing a drop. So agriculture, manufacturing. In fact, we've seen about a 5% decrease in hiring in manufacturing since its peak last year.